I have here? Oh. Mm. Trying to pull my chin up. That's what I'm trying to do. Pull the chin up so I look smaller. Oh man. Here we go. Let's go live. Going live here on YouTube and boop, Instagram. And yes, I am home. I'm home and we'll explain everything in a moment. Wow. Okay. Fluffing the hair. Yeah, doing what I can with this. So welcome everybody. Come on in. I'm going to put the lippy on. Put some of that on. I'm a wee bit. Oh, I'm tired. I got to admit, I am tired today. But hey, so hello, and welcome everybody. Got the lippy on. Did I do it right? Oh, no. I got a little bit there. Ah, 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 ah. trying to make it look good. So, what do we have today? We're going to go through the month of February and the energies of February. And talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about things going a little bit up and a little bit down, a little bit all around. And some people are panicking, and some people are just sitting back with the popcorn and watching. So, very interesting. So, first off, I am home now. I am home. I my contract has ended. So my contract has ended. I am no longer working for the company that I was working with, and they closed the shop Saturday night, changed the locks, and they're packing everything up. It's been a very interesting ride for me. It's been a ride to learn a lot about HR and how to deal with it. And another thing is one of the big just learning to work with HR, and thinking that you could do it on your own, or thinking you could just do it at the store level when you work with somebody who's extremely manipulative and having forms of mental disorder is no. I'm going to say no, it's not. Um, that's the whole thing. So it's one of those things that happen. I'm glad. I am actually quite relieved that it's closed, it's over, it's done. I don't have to pack up the store, thank God, because that's a hell of a job to pack it all up and take everything down. I'm very happy I'm not the one having to do that. So I know with Uranus, the way Uranus is slowing down, we're going to talk about that. He's going forward in a couple more days. This is where energies shift, and they shift fast, right? And I've been doing also a lot of different little hello. It's a company, not the workers. Exactly. Yes, HR is the company, and dealing with a company that deals. I that deals with they just take sides a little bit more than they should, because of the company brand and what the company stand, part of the company, what it stands for. So dealing with that. So learned very a lot about manipulation. Learned a lot when you're trying to give somebody the benefit of the doubt and trying to lift them up, and they don't want to be lifted up. They'd rather stay in their little their little their little mess, which is fine. God bless them. And especially when you were able to call them out on their lies, and they didn't like that. So, but anyways, yeah. So it's onwards and upwards for me right now. What direction and where I'm going? Again, I'm at the will of the gods, where the gods are forming me. But I want to go somewhere where it's not. I don't want stress, like overly crazy stress. I don't want to be dealing with, uh, you know, Drama, 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 drama. That's not what I want to deal with. I want to deal with more, more in an alignment with who I am and what I love to do, and that's working with spirit and doing and teaching and things like that. So, on the next topic, what are we getting into? We're getting into February, and the thing is with February, um, February what you need to understand is February's a reshaping month. This is reshaping a lot. Um, it's a month of reality blinks. Okay, February is the month where belief collides with um, consequences. Not metaphorically, it's structurally, globally, and personally. This is not intense feelings intense astrology, but this is timeline shifting, myth breaking, reality rewiring of the astrology. Why this month is different than January? Well, we got a Saturn Neptune conjunction. Every astrologer has been talking. I've been talking about it for the longest time on February 20th at 0 degrees Aries. It's the first time in human astrology it happens at Aries point and at this critical degree. Even though Saturn and Neptune meet every 35 to 36 years. But this is like it hasn't met at this point for since I think I've heard 4,300 BC. So it is it is a critical time of change. This is where the exact midpoint between Uranus shock revolution and Pluto death and rebirth. That's not a storm, that's a reboot signal. Like Saturn, what is real? Neptune, what we believe is real. Aries point, where private belief becomes public consequence, right? So February is when fantasy, ideology, spiritual narrative, political myths, tech promises, personal delusions hit the wall of a lived reality. So there's going to be some collapses and some incarnate. Now we are seeing right now what has just happened in the last little while where things were all of a sudden all of the stuff from Epstein just dropped. People wanted it, it dropped. It's just crazy. But people also have to realize like there is some critical information in that. And I know everybody's like, jail them all, crap, blah, blah, blah. Well, they're not going to get jailed because this is every single government in the world, every single religion in the world, in all levels, from a Catholic to a Muslim to a Jew to a pagan to an atheist to an agnostic to whatever, are in this kettle. So this is where, a lot of things, when you're talking about a new order coming in, here comes the new order because there are collapses coming in. Okay. So this is where there is a um sort of this is where reckoning is coming forth. We just had this full moon of reckoning, the full moon of Leo in an opposition to the Aquarius pileup with all that energy in Aquarius energy. And this is self versus community, creativity, identity versus collective demand. This is where Saturn stressed hard pressure, authority, and limits. So this is where this the translation, is where I'm being asked to show up for something bigger than me and where I'm resisting because I don't want to lose myself. This is when leaders crack, voices get louder, and words heal or inflame. Mercury, Chiron, Eris. The Mercury square Uranus is coming up on February 5th. Say it once, not 3 times. Screenshots, this is where things are just going to really take a new light, take a new, um, form, a new energy, and Mercury squaring at Uranus, and you gotta remember that Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, right? So Mercury is the lower octave. So it's the one that the learning the day to day, going to school, elementary, high school, post-secondary. When you get into Uranus, Uranus is the higher octave, the higher learning, the theology, the philosophies, the ones that come in and the thoughts that can come in and disrupt, right? Because it spreads this higher truth, this higher energy, this higher knowledge, right? That's where this is all coming in. And this is where when they're squaring, this is a tug of war. This is where things can really become disruptive, right? So, and what is okay, I know someone's going to say something they shouldn't and show their whole ad. Oh, definitely. You should see some of the pics that are coming out from the UK. They're just like, oh man, some people love the tidy whities. But this is where it's like this square, this energy that's coming in. So we're looking at a huge transition. That's only within the first week, right? This is only the first week. This drops full moon, stock market crash, everything else. But the stock market crash didn't crash in Shanghai. It only did its little thing in the United States, in New York. So we also had where one of the first banks collapsed um, this year in 2026, and I think that with I think it's Chicago. Anyways, doesn't matter. But they went in and it's been bought out by somebody else because they were trying to short the silver market. So, and it's not going to be the first. There's going to be others. There was some adjustment over the weekend with this as well, where other banks were saying, "Holy shit, we don't want to get caught with our, hands, in the candy dish." So we are coming into where from the 7th to the 13th, where Venus, Mercury square Uranus, right? So there's attraction to chaos, novelty, the forbidden, the new savior. This is with the Scorpio moon and days equaling intensity, obsession, projection. So this is where people are going to chase what shocks them instead of what sustains them. You're gonna find people wanna, like, go after the horror movies and go into the horror movies instead of going, "Okay, what can I do to really sustain myself and really build something that is more foundationally sound for myself than me going after some kinda shock value, some kind of wow kinda thing." This isn't the time to do it, just an FYI. So if you're chasing that shock value, if you're like, "Ooh, let's go to the carnival and go on all the crazy rides and get the bejesus scared out of you." No, you'd rather not go to the carnival. You'd rather not you'd rather kinda, like, bypass it and maybe let's just go for a drive somewhere. Let's go find some peace somewhere. Let's go find my meditation pillow and, have a seat, instead of going into that crazy. Because this is where you just because it feels electric doesn't mean it's aligned. So just because it seems like the right thing to do, right? It feels like, "Oh, this is great. This is what I need to do." Doesn't mean it's right. So Saturn's inching towards it, Aries, and the pressure builds. So reality starts knocking louder. So we're going to start seeing this huge buildup of energies and sounds and things getting really crazy. And the energies are really starting to get very more explosive in many different levels. So these degrees that they're all coming in are what we call the critical degrees because they are world degrees of change and transformation, what brings in the change and the transformation. And we also have a new moon this month, and a new moon is a solar eclipse. Yes, a Pisces solar eclipse. Saturn conjunct Neptune 3 days later on the 20th. This is core, this is portal, this is eclipse equals a timeline fork. Uranus still active, instability, nodes activating, is karmic release. Saturn and Neptune, belief becomes structure. So we're going to start seeing things being reformed, restructured, ideas that are coming in. I have and I don't think it's gonna happen in February, but I just feel things are really gonna like, it's gonna be more in March. No, maybe April, like April, where things are really, the heightening of everything between the middle of March to April, and this is where, you know, um, if things happen or something goes where war is called, then we're gonna find, you know, parliament gets shut down. There's gonna be no election, right? This is where we're gonna find where martial law could easily come in because of the disruptions in the United States, and the civil war that's being activated right now. You know, this is what, this is the craziness that's coming in. These are the shifts that are coming in, and it's like, don't run towards where everybody's protesting and rioting, like, run the other way, right? This is where there's going to be a lot of drama, and the drama is gonna be really starting to come up in the next 2 weeks. And this is where things are going to get, a wee bit crazy for us all. This is where we get, um, where things you're gonna find things get a little bit crazy, with the stock markets, and the stock market's going, bonkers. But this is also a time where it's not to go and run and sell if you do have stuff in the stocks. This isn't a time to go sell, right? It's funny how JP Morgan, um, at the exact time locked in silver as the market went crazy. Just bang, right? I mean, if you ever know any traders, they'll tell you that's nearly impossible to do, right? It's just one of those things. So we're going to see these things happen, right? And on that cheerful note, I have to get back to work. Love you. Have a nice day. Mwah. But this is where standing firm, standing in our love, standing in the truth of who we are, and it's that's important. That's important. We're gonna find big themes that on AI and consciousness, disclosures on ET truth and versus the narrative, and spiritual bypassing versus embodied faith. Dreams become real and disappointing. So this is where a lot of things are going to be coming up about AI and the sustainability about AI, because AI, needs in when it's being utilized and used, it needs a lot of things to do with minerals. It needs water. So it's also looking at how is this affecting the environment? What is it doing to affect the environment? Right? Spiritual bypassing drives me nuts too. This is where these things are gonna be coming up to what is how do we utilize this AI? How do we utilize it so it can be a benefit to us, right? And not something that dumbs us down. And this is where you're gonna find things like, copper, and copper mining. And those who have been doing the copper mining in that are going to start doing quite well. I mean, these are things that are going to be something that is needed. We need it. Copper is a conductor, so is silver. So we're going to see a lot more to do with the silver and the copper, right? And and those are sort of two things to sort of look at in having or investing in, if that's what you want to do. I'm not an investment advisor at all, but these are something you can look at, and even gold. And what and having, if you're able to get some gold. So these are the things that are coming in. And when it comes into spirituality, it's coming into the truth, the embodiment of faith, right? Not doing the spiritual bypassing, not thinking that whatever, this is where we have to come in and not just push things to the side. This is where we have to come in and really look at the energies coming in and look at our own selves and how we want to go forward with our life and with our directions and what that means to us. So embracing and being the truth of who we are is going to be a very important piece as we are going forward. And as I've said, this is where we walk the tightrope. We're not You can't lean left and you can't lean right, right? It's seeing things for truth, and in what is being unfolded before our eyes. So this is where this isn't a theatrical anymore. This is going to be coming where people a realization for people and awakening for people. Like this isn't like, oh yeah, um way back in the day, when spirituality was sort of really coming out and, the Louise Hayes and Doreen Virtue and, uh, many others were coming out and it was just becoming a big thing. Everybody's jumping on the spiritual bandwagon. And it took them several years to get it going. It took them several years for things to really get that momentum out there and people to get involved. This isn't it. This is like loud. This is a big bang. This is where people are like, "Holy shit," kind of thing. This is where people are finally, are really seeing that, okay, when you have people on the list that you never even thought would be on a list for the Epstein file. We have the usual ones that everybody wants to go to is the Bill Gates, the you know, Trump and, um, the prince, everybody wants to go for them. They put them up as the 3 branders or whatever because that's what they do. But then other ones are coming in that weren't even suspected or weren't even nobody really expected them to be on, right? And so secrets are coming open, things are opening up, and that makes huge change. Right? So a lot of speculation is going to be coming forward. There's going to be a lot of people are going to be called conspiracy theorists and people are going to be called many different things. And yeah, the New York mayor is one. Yeah, I the New York mayor, I mean, he's fraudulent to begin with. He's calling himself a socialist Democrat and he's got millions of dollars in the bank. So somebody's coming in, and that's the whole thing is that people don't look at that. They don't look at that type of, oh yeah, he's speaking the talk, like he's talking the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk. Like he's never been one to be without. He was came from a very pretty good family, you know. Um a very influential family, a family that whose mom got celebrated after and that here's oh, here, I'm gonna go on a thing. The thing about the New York mayor, his mother, when she went to that party, Epstein was already being investigated in 2008. She went in there in, I think, 2009 or something. I think that was it 2009? Anyways, when she went to the party. But anyways, he was already being investigated at that time. So it's interesting to see how this is unfolding and evolving, right? With all of this. So this is very very interesting. With a lot of the information that's unfolding with everything. So, it's we already know the thing with Bill Gates and we already know the things about Trump and other and then they're finding that some of the things is just the thing is that what is going to happen, and that's going to frustrate a lot of people, is that there won't be enough evidence to formally charge anybody. So there's not going to be enough evidence to formally charge a lot of these people. So, which is going to be get quite frustrating for many people. So, but that's a whole new activation that's coming in, right? Because from the 21st to the 28th is, the Venus trine Jupiter, and that's an emotional bomb. And Mercury stationary retrograde in Pisces, right, on the 25th. And retrograde, when Mercury retrogrades in Pisces, this is when things really get muffled and we really get into um, spell casting. So this is where you really have to watch out. And it's, a lot of propaganda that's going to be coming out, a lot of things that are going to be being said with Mercury in Pisces, and that people hopefully can see through the truth, because the last time when Mercury went retrograde in Pisces was in 2020, right? And when it went retrograde in 2020, well, we all know what happened then, right? We all know. If you don't know, well, go watch my other videos from back then. Um, but we all understand the shit that went down there and the spell that was cast there. Now this is a bigger spell. This is even bigger than what it was before. So this energy that's coming in is really where we're going to really have to be within our soulful self. We have to be one with that divineness, right? And coming in with that divineness and that clarity within ourselves and trusting in it, even though it may not seem that way. It may seem like something else. It may seem like, oh, this is more delusional, or you're following a delusion or an illusion. But this is where we really have to come in and have that discernment, to have that where we can really, I'm going to say, grab hold of and not fall into a lot of the craziness that's going to be happening, you know? And the propaganda that's coming in. I mean, we're seeing the propaganda that's coming in with what our government's saying is like, "Oh, you're gonna get a big GST um, check coming up, and yeah, it's gonna be great." And yeah, but it's what, just lower inflation, lower the prices and everything, so that people can live, so they can afford to buy groceries, they can afford to do things. But this is all a backdoor policy for getting people um dependent more on the government, dependent on them. If you're dependent on the government, then they have the control. So a lot of these things are being implemented and going to be sold to you in a very shiny, beautiful Tiffany box. But remember, it's not a Tiffany that's in there, right? It's not Tiffany's that's in there. It's probably something from where you put your quarter in, and you get a little ring that turns your finger black, right? That's the whole thing. And that's all being brought out this month. This is all happening this month, and it's happening rapidly, right? So we're going to start seeing a lot more craziness, like explosions, like in Iran. We're going to be starting to see more things just erupt into the states. I mean, he hasn't called it an insurrection yet, but he's pretty damn close on doing that. And once that gets called, then all hell's gonna break loose. Mainly in the blue states, not nec which is exactly what happened during the Civil War in the United States. When the Civil War happened, it was mainly in the blue states, not the red states, but now the blue states have all flipped. It flipped around, so it's interesting. And then same here, there's gonna be such a revolt that's gonna be happening, especially here in Alberta, where people are going to get extremely frustrated over what is going to unfold, because the entanglement that will happen in Ottawa with what they want to happen here, and what that entanglement looks like, for Albertans, because they don't want to let us go. Because if they are going off into and declaring war, and with doing that, you need oil and gas, and you need the oil and gas in order to funnel it all together, right? So you may find they're going to find that it's going to be quite a road that won't happen. And of course, the Trump would love to have Alberta flow through the states, because right now, um, when it comes to oil and gas and the petrodollar, the United States is now holding the cards for that, right? So they're holding the cards, and it's not OPEC anymore. It's the United States that are holding the cards when it comes to the oil and gas, right? So, and with them having that control over Venezuela right now, and the reserves that are in Venezuela, that is actually benefiting the United States, and it's not benefiting China, because China doesn't have oil and gas. So they need to get it, and they're getting it from Venezuela. No, thank you. I don't think we'll get separation, but I'm more for leverage than separation. Yeah, no, we won't get separation. Not the way things are going, just by looking at the chart of Alberta and the chart of Canada and the chart of Carney. No. No, there's a lot of manipulation and stuff that's going to be happening, and underhandedness that's going to happen through with all of that, you know. And again, this is restructuring the world. This is where we're going to also see governments collapse this month, and regime changes that are going to happen. So we're going to be witnessing that happening quite rapidly. It's not going to be something that's um, a slow burn kind of thing. It's going to happen quite rapidly with that. I don't see Mark going further than his first election. Um, no, I don't see him going further than where he is now. But when he first came to power, he did have he did have it put in that if a war broke out, that there will be no elections called. So, in stating that, that's, basically, if a war is called, right? And things, which is happening quite quickly, especially in the EU and stuff like that. Um, he's still in power. He's still in power. Just saying, he's still in power. And I know they're trying to get an election called now, and now that, Pierre is, got an 87% for the Conservatives for leadership. Um, we'll see what happens there. It's there's a lot of palms that are being a lot of palms are getting, I said laced right now. So there's a lot of backdoor deals and everything else that are going on at this time. Uh, so there's a lot. That's happening. That's there. I I don't feel an election coming up. I don't think it would be a positive thing for anybody. It would and it wouldn't, in many ways. Um, either way, if it was called and Pierre did get in, we're going to war. Doesn't matter. Either way, we're going to war. It's going to happen. So it's just one of those things that, whether we like it or not, that's that's the energies that are coming in. That's the chaos that is coming in. And when we look through history, anytime through history, there has been some kind of crazy, chaotic happening that has changed the direction of how we function, how we are ruled within the world. And that's what's happening right now, is that these things are happening so that we are able to go in a new direction. And with that Saturn and Neptune conjunction, this is leaving a whole book wide open that hasn't been written. This hasn't been written, so there's so many unknowns in this. And then we're going to have Uranus, going direct, and we also going direct and then moving into Gemini. So as it moves into Gemini, that is bringing in, new writings on the wall. And also new exploration for things, new explorations not only of the universe, but new explorations of weapons and new technologies that are going to come in, especially with Uranus and Gemini, right? So it's really going to bring people into a higher level, a higher way of thinking. When Uranus was in Gemini the last time, it was Germany, right? And all of the technology in Germany did the first computer. It had the first computer already done up. It also had a lot of the warfare, and from everything from the tanks to the air, to the planes, to a lot of the things that they're doing was set up through them. So it's quite interesting. I'll be in my MC when Gemini hits Uranus. Yeah, and that's transformational change right there. And it's change, and the change is for the higher good. The change wants to bring in the higher good for everything. That's what it wants. But through it, and through this activation, it has to shake things up. It has to shake the world up. It has to shake people up in awakening, so that we can fully embody it and fully embody these changes. So by the end of February, Saturn has passed Neptune, and the spell's been casted. Some of it might be lifted, but I'm not sure if it's all going to be lifted. But we don't like everything we see, but we see it. That's the other part thing. So there are fogs that are going to be lifting up by the end, and people aren't going to like what they see. People aren't going to like how things are fully exposed, because a lot of times people just like, oh, just let me go to work and come home and take the kids to hockey and soccer and violin or whatever it is. I don't want to deal with anything else. But all of a sudden you have to deal with it. We are being exposed to this new world, to this new energy. And February is not asking us to be calm, it's asking us to be conscious, right? And care for your body. Limit how much chaos you consume. Choose community wisely. Don't confuse belief with truth, right? And don't confuse, hope with denial, right? So Pluto in Aquarius isn't about saving the world. It's about learning how to live together after the myths have collapsed. And that's the thing, is that there's going to be a lot of things when people have to do with belief systems, right? And the belief systems that you have. So you might have been, um warning, your connection is unstable, please wait. Ooh, my I'm calm in the eyes of the storm. I guess I have that going for me. Yes. This is where things are going to get quite chaotic for people. And in that chaos, it is that calmness, right? It's like you might have been raised a certain way, or in a certain um religion, or certain belief system, and within that belief system, that's the way you've always done it, or that's what you've always been told to do, right? Now it's coming in where this activation is coming in, where it's like that belief system is being shattered. This is where people are going to have belief systems around Islam being shattered, things around Catholicism being shattered, things around different Christianity being shattered, things around our own reality of what we thought was true is going to be shattered this month. And it's going to be where people have to, you know, honestly come back and embody that energy of the spirit and the soul, right? And making sure that they have the community, right? and the community that's happening around them is going to be important. And looking at what that community, and the strength of that community, and as I said, this isn't the end of a story. This is the end of pretending we don't know better, right? February is a month that the veil thins, not so we can escape, but so we can finally step fully into a world we're creating together. That's what February is. And a lot of people that's scary because now you got to take 100% responsibility for your reality, right? And in saying that, people get scared when I say that. This is, not so much of, when you have to take that responsibility, but this is where it's like, yeah, we're not going to let people starve, and that's part of the responsibility. When you understand that somebody needs help, then you're there genuinely to help. You're there genuinely to lift that person up, because when you do that, you're lifting everybody else up. You're allowing for somebody to have their business grow and thrive, because in growing and thriving is allowing for them to open up a business and maybe hire more people and be able to have that. That's where this is going. That's where this energy is coming in. But people get scared of that, and they get scared of the competition, right? Oh, just give it to the government. No, but we're heading into, it's like this is where all of this exposure comes in. And it's nothing that we should be scared of. It's not what we should be, fearful of, but I feel like this is a place where we need to really stand in our strengths, and in the strengths, and uphold the strengths of one another. So we don't confuse the hope with denial, or confuse belief with truth. This is where we're stepping into a place where the waves are going to be breaking. And when the waves break, this is when things are starting to release, things are starting to be seen. And as they're being seen, we are starting to create something new. Is it going to be really bumpy and crazy, and you thought January was fucked up? Well, February, we're coming into another month that's going to be just as fucked up. But that fucked upness is going to create something that is phenomenal, and that's something that is new for us and evolutionary. So, and that's because Uranus making its exact trine with Pluto and the planet of evolution. And remember, Neptune is going to be exactly at the midpoint, halfway between them. We are not done with this. This is unfolding, is significant, but we need to stay involved in the process. We need to stay aware, and we need to be aware that if we don't take care of ourselves, we won't be able to take care of our friends, our loved ones, and our family. So it's very important to take care of our own health, to make sure that we are doing what we need to do in order to sustain in a healthy, happy place. And this is an evolution of new communities. As Pluto is moving through Aquarius, more is going to be coming in with all of that, and new communities popping up. So, yes, is it tied to Pluto? Oh, yes, it's very much tied to Pluto. Very much tied to Pluto. Especially with that trine that's going to be coming in with Uranus and Pluto trine. That's going to be coming in, and then Neptune is at the midpoint, right? So there's a whole transformation and changes that are coming in, and Saturn is wanting to create the structure of it, right? And Pluto is the one that brings in the evolutionary change, because it is in Aquarius. So Aquarius is evolutionary change, and Pluto is activating all of that. And of course, he's going to be there for some time, for like 19 years. To get off of social media for the middle parts of what's happening. Huh. It's funny, the people who say to get off social media are going to be the people who are probably still on social media. I find that funny. So, I mean, if people are worried that your information is your information is out there in many ways. So it's like use social media as I mean, it is a tool that we have. It's a tool of communication. It's a tool of building community too. If you want to build community, it's a great tool that you can utilize to do that. It's a great tool to utilize to build your business as well. And connect with people and find the connections with like-minded people. And I think that's what has to be utilized and used in that format for us to create more for us, right? And of course, with the changes that are coming in, there are going to be a lot more that's going to unfold for us, and new computers and phones and whatever TVs that aren't going to be TVs or plasmas or whatever, right? It was more for me not getting pulled in. I like dropping little seeds and pushing people with one-liners, and then they get so angry. I can't help myself. Yeah, and people will. People because it's awakening people to truth. And when you're awakening people to truth, it gets very they get very frustrated because their reality, which is the illusion, gets shattered. So the shattered reality comes in, right? And what that shattered reality is. So the things like, a lot of people who believed solely in what the shot could do and the elixir could do are finding out so much that you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I I know. So on that note, I'm going to love you all and leave you. It's not to be afraid, it's to stand in your truth. Know that things are going to be shattered and things are gonna go a little bit topsy-turvy, but don't get sucked into it all. Like, really, like, watch it, walk your line, stay heart-centered in it all, which is going to be so important, all right? And if you're wanting a reading, hey, I'm open, I'm available. So if you're wanting a reading, if you're wanting to join me for this February, for my February workshop, definitely get a hold of me. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you, and all you say, and all you be, and all you do. Blessed be everybody. Bye bye.